Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
What can you say about Petey? I mean, you've been asked, but with JT Miller due back soon, what can you say about the way Petey has elevated his game in JT's absence?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you expect him to do, right? He's doing a good job producing. I don't know what else to say. You guys are obsessed with Petey, yeah? It's Petey every game. Sorry.
You get paid a lot. You're always going to be part of the story.
But every game, like I gotta. You guys are good at it. Like you analyze the game. Why do I have to? I don't have. When I ask questions at TNT, I never always. Hey, this player. That's just.
We'll let you ask us the next time.
It just gets. I love you guys, but it gets old. Like every time, Petey. Because you guys. I know you want to say the wrong thing. That's why. I'm not falling for that trap anymore. I got full of it. But I'm joking. That is a legitimate question. He's producing. I'm screwing around with you. Like he's been producing that JT's been out. Hopefully with JT coming back, those guys will both produce like they did last year for us. So yeah, 1-2 punch.
Oh, Rick Tocchet just ripping into Farhan there. Farhan's coming up next. All of today's guests are brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. Giants next home game Saturday at 7 p.m. Teddy Bear Toss Night versus Victoria. Also Sunday, another family Sunday when Tri-City visits the LEC, 4 p.m. puck drop. And stick around, Rick, for a post-game skate. Head to VancouverGiants.com to get single-game tickets, flex packs, and more. Now joined by Farhan Lalji from TSN, who again can't join us on Zoom.
Disappointing.
He is on the phone. We're disappointed in him, and so apparently is Rick Tocchet. Have you recovered, Farhan? Thanks for joining us. Have you recovered from being scolded by the head coach?
Well, first of all, I'm not on Zoom because of an accident on Highway 1 just past Gallardi, an area you probably know well in Burnaby. Yeah. So I got through it about 10 minutes ago, and it derailed my plans. I'd hoped to be at the rink by 10:15 so I could do it, in person as it were, but you'll have to settle for this, so it'll be better next time. I have settled from the scolding, and look, if you saw his face during all of that, he was kind of half laughing, half serious, half not, right? I do think that he gets tired of answering about Petey all the time, but I'm curious as to what he felt would have been the wrong thing to say that we were trying to, or I was trying to get him to say. Because if you heard how the question was framed, I thought it was in a positive way, because I do think Pettersson has played his best hockey since JT Miller's been out of the lineup. And, and to the coach's point at the end of it, that if they can get back in and be a 1-2 punch, that's great. So I wasn't looking for him to say anything negative about Pettersson, which would be categorized as the wrong thing. So I'm wondering what he thought we wanted him to say. But, look, if you know Rick Tocchet, he's a pretty easygoing guy. I've got a good relationship with him. We laughed about it afterwards. The next day when he talked about Petey having bacon and eggs, we chuckled about that. I told him the torch story, right? Because you remember when I mistakenly at an end-of-season presser called Torch Mike, and he proceeded to call me an a-hole, and that clip has still kind of gone in infamy. And again, another moment after the fact, we joked about it, but that's not going anywhere. Like that is still out there. We have this thing called the internet. Mm-hmm. So I told Rick yesterday, I said, that's going to be there for a while, just so you know.
Do you think, and Rick is obsessed with him, do you think that the media is obsessed in this town with Elias Pettersson?
Well, no. And look, I think, as I said in there, like the guy gets paid a lot of money, right? Yeah. So he's going to get a certain level of oxygen. And if you go through that exchange, what happened was that was the two questions earlier. He was asked about the power play, and he spun the answer to Petey and how Petey threw the puck at the net. And it led to a goal that, they put into their own net, but it was a good play by him to throw it at the net. So he spent a lot of time talking about Petey. Then another reporter asked him about something else about Petey, and then I followed up. So it felt like a lot, but some of it was him volunteering it on his own. He wasn't asked about it, right? So, he, as the coach, you're always going to talk about your players, quite frankly, whether you get asked about it or not. So, obviously a big storyline in that game was Demko. And his return, but Pettersson with the goal and an assist was invariably going to be a part of it as well.
Farhan, obviously there's a chance that JT Miller may play tonight. Regardless of the situation, the last 10 games he has missed, He's a very popular guy in this market. Look at the wrestling event here about 10 days ago, and he lets whatever the chant was, JT Miller, and if he does return tonight, he'll get a healthy ovation as well. He could be the spark plug for this team right now, especially at home where they have struggled.
Well, they need him to be that guy, right? And that was one of the other things Tocchet suggested earlier before the last game when he was asked about the potential impact Miller could have on this team at home. And he said, yeah, this is a guy that I put out on the ice quite often at home for the first shift. That's a regular occurrence because we know we'll win the draw, we'll get the puck in deep, we can get in on the forecheck and play that game, and it's a good tone setter for us. So, yeah, and I think even Miller at times, he will grudgingly admit that the crowd's reaction to him does get him going, right? So I do think you're right. If he plays tonight, I think the crowd's going to go bananas. This is a crowd, say what you want about Canuck Twitter, but Canuck fans in person are pretty supportive of their team. And whether it's trying to get Pettersson going when he's slumping, whether it's chanting Demko's name on his first night back and the reaction he got, it's going to be pretty electric because this is a guy, as you said, Rick, that brings out the emotion in Canuck fans because they've got such a good relationship with him. So it should be fun to watch whenever he gets back.
It looks like the early reports, you should be there, but you got caught in traffic. But early reports, Donnie, it looks like Lankinen's going to get the start tonight. Farhan, Demko, first game back. Your thoughts? And it looks like, hey, we're going to rest this guy. We're not going to overplay him. What a shock. But anyways, it looks like Lankinen tonight.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of us suggested that this would be a logical course of action, right? That you don't have to overplay this guy. And they're in a stretch of games where they've got a lot of games every second night. So I think both goalies can be in a groove playing every second game. So I think this makes sense. I think we're going to see a lot of this at least until the end of the month, if not right up until the Four Nations break. So you've got a goaltender in Lankinen who's playing great. You've got a goaltender in Demko who will get back to being great but doesn't need to get overworked right now. So the Canucks are in the catbird seat, right? This is the right way to do it, and they're in a position to do it. So no surprise to see Kevin Lankinen play tonight. And many felt that, given the quality of Florida, that it might not be a game you want to throw at Demko this soon in his return, which is why the St. Louis game made so much more sense. And as far as his performance in that game, look, he had some goals that he probably wanted back that he probably could have been a little tighter on, but he also made some fantastic saves.
And Farhan, very quickly, switching gears here, why would Bill Belichick at the age of 72, 15 wins away from Don Shula's all-time wins record in the National Football League, why would he want to coach at the college level? For people who don't know, he's hooked up with University of North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't get it. And for him, I think he wants a level of control. I think he was disenchanted with the last hiring cycle. And quite honestly, this hiring cycle, I think, could be quite enticing with big-name teams like Dallas, Chicago, both New York teams, all of that. So you'd have to think his representatives probably in the background had some conversations. And, remember, it's not just him coaching. He wanted complete control, and that's the issue. No one was able to give him that. But I'll tell you this, I do not think this is going to work. Because even a guy like Nick Saban, who's close to Belichick, in the current era of college football with the portal and NIL, these guys aren't looking for just, hey, I'll give you a perfect pathway to the NFL like Nick Saban did. They want the bag, and they want it now. And so, and I know they're committing more to NIL at North Carolina, but I do not believe that Bill Belichick's act is going to work in college. He'll probably be back in the NFL in a couple of years.
Farhan, thanks for this. And by the way, looking back to what happened with Rick Tocchet, nobody asked tougher questions in this market than you do. So we appreciate that, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
You bet.